A state of emergency in Western Europe was described as apocalyptic.
Something's off. Not in a way you can point to on a map. Not in a way the morning news explains properly. Just a low, constant hum underneath everything. The heat that doesn't break when it should. The storms that don't behave the way storms used to behave. That itch in the back of your mind that says this isn't normal, and somewhere, someone already wrote this down. I want to tell you something, and I want you to actually sit with it instead of scrolling past it. Because I did that for a long time too. I told myself it was just weather, just cycles, just science doing what science does. Then I went back and read the old words. The ones written thousands of years before satellites, before thermometers, before anyone had a name for El Niño at all. And I found language that sounded less like ancient poetry and more like a forecast. Nation will rise against nation. There will be earthquakes in various places and famines. These are the beginning of birth pains. Birth pains. Not the disaster itself, the beginning of it. The part that comes before gets worse gradually, closer together, harder to ignore. That's not a metaphor I'm reaching for tonight. That's the actual language, written down long before anyone alive today was born, describing a pattern we are now watching happen in real time. Right now, this year, not in some distant projection. So here's what I want to walk you through. Not fear. I'm not interested in scaring you and leaving you there. I want to show you 3 things happening on this planet right now in 2026, independently verified, that together form a shape. And once you see the shape, you won't be able to unsee it. The sun getting hotter than the record it just broke. The Earth's own shield weakening from underneath, faster than anyone predicted. And the body count that's already climbing while most people are still calling it just weather. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're not going to look at the sky the same way again. Let's start with the heat, because it's already here. Right now, in 2026, El Niño isn't coming. It's active. NOAA and the World Meteorological Organization have confirmed it. And the forecasts aren't gentle. Models are showing an 80 to 90% probability that El Niño conditions dominate straight through the rest of this year, with almost no chance of it fading into neutral. And it's not staying small. Forecasters are putting the odds at roughly 63% that this becomes a super El Niño, one of the strongest ever recorded, peaking somewhere between November 2026 and January 2027. There's a 97% chance it holds on all the way into next spring. I need you to understand what that actually means, because most people hear El Niño and think it's just a fancy word for hot summer. It's not. It's an ocean breathing. Somewhere beneath the surface of the Pacific, there's a rhythm. Warm water pushed west by trade winds for years at a time. Then, in a cycle no one fully controls, that rhythm breaks. The winds falter. The warm water that was piling up in the west comes sliding back east, spreading out, rising to the surface, and the entire planet's temperature ticks upward. Here's what makes this one different. It's not landing on a stable baseline. It's landing on top of a record that was already broken. 2024 is already confirmed, official, on the books. The hottest year in 175 years of measurement. Global temperatures sitting 1.55 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Not a projection, not a model. A closed book, already written. Now a super El Niño is stacking on top of that. Which means the ceiling everyone thought we'd hit eventually isn't a ceiling anymore. It's a floor. And the damage isn't evenly spread. That's the detail most coverage skips. When this cycle turns, it doesn't just make everywhere hotter. It rearranges where the water goes. The WMO's own water resources report already documented it happening. Strong El Niño conditions amplifying drought across South America and Southern Africa, while other regions, parts of Africa, Europe, Asia, got inundated with flooding instead. Not chaos, redistribution. Drought handed to nations that already had the least. Floods handed to coastlines that already couldn't afford them. If you wanted a single image for what birth pains might look like on a planetary scale, this is uncomfortably close to it. And it's not hypothetical. It's the year we're standing in. Now here's where it gets strange. Because heat is something you can feel. What I'm about to tell you, you can't feel at all. And that's exactly why almost nobody's talking about it. Underneath your feet, roughly 3,000 kilometers down, there's an ocean you'll never see. Not water, molten, superheated iron, churning in the outer core of this planet, spinning like the dynamo in an old bicycle light. And that spin is the reason you have a magnetic field at all. It's the invisible shield that keeps charged particles from the sun from stripping away the very atmosphere you're breathing right now. That shield is failing in one very specific place, stretching from South America across to Africa. There's a region scientists call the South Atlantic Anomaly. And 11 years of satellite data from the European Space Agency's Swarm mission just confirmed something researchers weren't expecting to see move this fast. Since 2014, this weak zone has grown by an area nearly half the size of continental Europe. Read that again? Not a small patch. Half of Europe in weakening magnetic strength, gone in a little over a decade, and it's accelerating. Since 2020, the section of the anomaly closest to Africa has been losing strength even faster than the rest. Between 2018 and 2025 alone, that eastern section lost roughly 600 nanotesla, compared to about 200 on the western side. It's not weakening evenly. It's weakening unevenly, faster where it's already worst. Here's the part that used to be a hypothesis and now isn't. Scientists confirmed the anomaly has started to split. From one long valley of weakness into two separate cells, drifting apart. And the models show that split continuing. What used to be described as could happen in older reports is now something researchers are watching unfold in the data in real time. In 2026, satellites already feel it. Spacecraft passing through that region are exposed to elevated radiation. And the risk isn't theoretical anymore either. Technical malfunctions, hardware damage, even temporary outages, all tied directly to how thin the shield has become in that stretch of sky. Officially, scientists will still tell you this falls within normal variation, that there's no visible effect on daily life on the surface. I believe them. I'm not going to hand you a claim the data doesn't support. But notice what normal variation is actually describing here. The planet's magnetic architecture growing measurably weaker, splitting in two, faster than the last update predicted. And the honest answer from the people paid to study it is still, essentially, we're watching this closely and we don't fully know where it stops. And this is where I need you to slow down with me, because I'm not going to force a scripture reference onto a magnetic field reading just to make a point, but across the language of the prophets, again and again. The signs described aren't only about weather on the surface, they're about the foundations, the things that are supposed to be fixed, unshakable, the ground you don't question, starting to move. The powers of the heavens will be shaken. Whatever that phrase meant to the people who first heard it, I don't think it's a coincidence that the actual invisible architecture holding this planet together is, right now, provably, measurably, splitting apart while almost nobody outside a research lab is paying attention. Now let's talk about what all of this actually costs. Not in theory, in bodies. The most recent full accounting we have, the WMO's report covering weather, water, and climate impacts through 2024, didn't soften anything. 2024 didn't just break the temperature record. Tropical cyclones, floods, and droughts that year drove the highest number of new displacements recorded in 16 years. People forced out of their homes at a scale not seen since before most of the events I'm describing tonight were even on anyone's radar. Food crises worsened. Economic losses climbed into the massive category. Tropical cyclones alone, events like Typhoon Yagi tearing through Vietnam, the Philippines, and southern China, accounted for some of the costliest damage of the entire year. Glaciers kept losing ice at record pace, adding directly to sea level rise most coastal cities aren't built to absorb. And here's the detail that should sit with you longer than the rest. Scientists are on record saying we still don't have enough global data on groundwater and water quality to even fully measure how bad this is getting. We're documenting the visible damage in real time while admitting we can't see all of it yet. This is not a future scenario. This is the accounting of what has already happened. 1 year ago, filed by an international body with no theological interest whatsoever, no reason to dramatize a single number. Here's what I keep coming back to, and I want to be careful how I say this, because I'm not interested in making claims I can't stand behind. I'm not telling you a scientist confirmed the book of Revelation. That's not what happened here. And anyone who tells you that is selling you something. What I am telling you is this. For thousands of years across Scripture, the pattern used to describe the end of an age was never a single catastrophe arriving out of nowhere. It was always escalation, signs building on signs, things that used to be rare becoming common, a rhythm getting tighter, the way contractions get closer together before birth. What we just walked through, in 3 completely unconnected fields of science, ocean temperature cycles, deep earth magnetism, and a year-old disaster accounting, is, without any of them intending to, describing exactly that shape, right now, in 2026, independently, from institutions that have never spoken to each other about this. The heat isn't approaching a record. It already broke one, and now a super El Niño is stacking on top of it. The planet's own shield isn't slowly weakening. It just split into 2, faster than the last model predicted. And the human cost, despite better technology than we've ever had, just produced the worst displacement numbers in 16 years. None of these 3 things caused each other. That's what should actually get your attention. Not that they're connected by mechanism, but that they're converging by timing. 3 separate arrows, drawn by 3 separate hands, all pointing the same direction, in the same year, on the same planet you and I are standing on right now. I don't know what next year's headline is. Anyone who tells you they know the exact date of anything is lying to you or lying to themselves. But I know what it means for tonight, for you, sitting wherever you're sitting right now watching this. It means paying attention isn't paranoia anymore. It means the old words described a pattern that 3 unrelated scientific fields just handed us independent confirmation of in real time this year, without meaning to. So what do you actually do with something like this? Not panic. Panic doesn't prepare anyone for anything. It just burns through you and leaves you exhausted in the same spot you started. What I think you do is simpler and harder than panic. You pay attention. You stop treating just weather as a phrase that ends the conversation. You let yourself notice the pattern instead of looking away from it because it's uncomfortable. Because discomfort, it turns out, is usually the exact place worth staying a little longer. And if there is any truth at all to the old words, and I think, after everything we just walked through, that question is a lot harder to wave off than it used to be. Then the point was never simply to frighten the people who heard it. It was to wake them up before the door closed. Every account of what was coming ends the same way. Not with everyone caught off guard, but with those who were watching, ready. That's the part nobody wants to sit with, because it's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's a decision made long before the headline hits. I don't know what tomorrow's headline is going to be. Neither do you. Neither does anyone in a lab coat, no matter how many models they run. But I know what this year's data already says. And I know what the words written thousands of years before any of it says. And right now, for the first time maybe, they're not saying two different things. If this reached you the way it reached me putting it together, don't just scroll past it. Send it to 5 people who need to actually think about this instead of dismiss it. Leave one honest comment below. Not a copy-paste reaction, an actual sentence about what you felt watching this. And tell me what you want me to dig into next. Because there's a lot more buried in this pattern than one video can hold. I'll see you in the next one.